Hi guys, Casey Talks EV here. So on the 6th of May 2020, I actually swapped over to Octopus Agile, or it can also be known as Agile Octopus. This is a time of use based tariff, however it is distinct in that the pricing is effectively changing every half an hour or every 30 minutes. Most time of use based tariffs work similar to something like Economy 7, where for a certain period of time during the night, normally during the night it goes a little bit cheaper, and during the day it's a little bit more expensive. Agile actually takes us a bit further, so effectively during the period of 4 to 7 p.m, where there's normally a spike in energy demand or electricity demand, it bumps up the price pretty much, and it effectively gives you as close to the wholesale rate of electricity as you can. So this video will basically go over a lot of the cost savings associated with Octopus Agile, as well as whether you may want to consider other alternatives. So for example, Octopus's own Go tariff or EDF's tariff, etc. And what kind of considerations you have to make in order to judge whether it's worthwhile for you. So anyway, let's get started. So previously, when it came to energy suppliers, I was extremely proactive. So I did actually actively go and find the cheapest energy supplier on the market. The main reason for switching afterwards was either A, the fixed tariff ended, or B, because the supplier went bankrupt. And in 2 occasions, this actually did happen. So first of all with Irisa, and second of all with Eversmart Energy. In both cases, Ofgem did step in and protected my balance, so there wasn't too much to worry about there. So in the end, I probably did save quite a lot of money. However, I just want to make this very clear, because when I was researching the topic, at least, according to Ofgem, 15 million households are still on their standard and variable tariffs. Now, for a given energy supplier. Now, what I want to basically say is, please, if you don't even bother switching to Agile or switching to Go or any time of use tariff, please go out and search for the best deal. The fact is that these standard variable tariffs are normally the most expensive from any energy company. Second of all, it is even more expensive even compared to tariffs that the same energy company may also have. So please shop around for your energy supplier, and I really can't say that enough. If you want easy ways of doing this, for example, I think Money Saving Expert, which effectively has taught me a lot of financial education apart from just energy bills. They've normally given me the best option or the easiest option. Alternatively, there are energy clubs effectively. So Money Saving Expert has one of those. Sign up to those, and I think actually it makes your switching process a bit easier as well. And I think Look After My Bills, I haven't used them personally, but that one seems like a good shout. So in terms of my personal circumstances, I used to live with 3 other students. So this is significantly different compared to a lot of other sort of standard families where, for example, both of them are working 9 to 5. So in my case, there would probably be a person in the house at that particular time. And I thought I'd just mention that. Obviously, though, as we've now moved on to more of a post-COVID recovery, a lot of us have started working from home, so maybe this information is a bit more appropriate at this point. But anyway, so the next part is effectively we're going to talk about a bit more about the methodology of how I determined whether to swap to Agile. So in terms of my methodology, about a fortnight before deciding whether to switch to Agile, I made basic timesheets for all the appliances that were, first of all, high powered, and second of all, with the possibility of time shifting. So this included both the washing machine, tumble dryer, dishwasher, and things like that. The exception to this rule would have been the electric oven and the electric shower, where effectively there's no ability to time shift. However, it was fairly important to double check whether they were being used between 4 and 7 p.m. Although I did obviously have the expectation that the electric shower probably wasn't being used during that 4 to 7 p.m. peak anyway. The one contentious one would have been the electric oven. I actually have a gas hob, so there's that too. If it was a more scientific test, I probably would have used a much more non-intrusive way of doing things, i.e. Smart plugs with energy monitoring built into them. But it was a purely casual test pretty much. So in terms of the results, what I found out was the vast majority of the appliances, so the tumble dryer, dishwasher, washing machine, were already being used outside the 4 to 7 p.m. peak anyway, so that's pretty good. Second thing is that the electric shower, which is really high powered, that's a 10.5 kilowatt electric shower, was not being used anywhere near that time, but more rather about 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The oven was used between 4 to 7 p.m. obviously, but given we all used the student approach to cooking, which was effectively 180 degrees fan assisted, let's say 20 minutes, double check the temperature, and then put it in for a little bit more, up to probably about 30 or 40 minutes, it was basically okay. Basically meant that the oven was being used during that time, but it wasn't using that much energy. On top of this, a lot of appliances were already being used overnight. So effectively what would people do is they would put their washing in and then pick it up the next morning, put it in the tumble dryer, and then do that sort of thing. Obviously, there is a little bit more, you need to be a bit more regimented when you do go on to these time of use tariffs, but apart from that, effectively what I realized was we were all good to go when it came to switching to Agile. So we finally got to the point in the video for the results, and we're going to have a little bit of a discussion. So in terms of, just for reference, effectively, in the description below, there will be my previous tariff, which it was Simplicity Energy. I've also put in a Big 6 tariff as well. This is a British Gas tariff. As far as I'm aware, this was a very good value one. I found it on, I think, Hot UK Deals about 6 months ago. And it does include, I think, boiler cover as well. So if you do have that, then you need to kind of factor that into the pricing and things. But effectively, I thought that I'd first of all compare it to my previous tariff, and second of all compare it to a Big 6 tariff effectively. So key facts and figures. So including the 6th of May up until the 1st of November as well, I used 6.97 megawatt hours. That's not a typo. I know I've used a lot of energy. I guess having an electric vehicle probably has something to do with that. Total cost was £537.06. Extrapolating that or modelling that using my previous tariff, that would have cost me £822.74. And on the British Gas tariff, it would have cost me £960.44. So the total saved was £285.68 compared to the Simplicity Energy tariff, and a whopping £422.94 compared to the British Gas tariff. In terms of the amount, now, there were a few days during that 180 days in which it was more expensive than my Simplicity Energy tariff. So 16 out of the 120, that's about 9%, was more expensive than my previous Simplicity Energy tariff. Interesting facts, the most kilowatt hours I've ever used was 105.6 kilowatt hours in a day. So in that case, I fully charged the car, heated some resisted heaters, effectively, and baked. It was locked down, and my banana bread recipe, I think I've got it down to a T now. And the average unit cost for Agile was 7.7p a kilowatt hour, 11.8p a kilowatt hour for the Simplicity Energy, and 13.8p a kilowatt hour for the British Gas tariff. Now that does include the standing charge for all three of them. To conclude this video, basically, there is one thing that I will say, even if you don't swap over to, for example, Octopus Agile or any time of use tariff, if you are on a standard variable tariff, please switch to a cheaper energy supplier. There are companies, for example, that like look after my bills that do it for you, or you can join another energy club. And finally, there are, price comparison websites that do it for you, and Money Saving Expert is basically where, as I said, I've learned most of my financial education. And they're pretty good. The second thing that I want to talk about in terms of methodology is please use some form to double check your inclinations as to whether you can timeshift, for example. So using the basic timesheet idea, or alternatively, if you do want to take it a step further, as I suggested, using smart plugs with energy monitoring. That means that you do get, first of all, a rough idea as to whether you're going to save money, because if it turns out you use everything during the 4 to 7 p.m. peak, then don't switch to Agile, basically. But alternatively, it also means that you can find whether you can actually time shift certain things. Can you do things during the night? For example, can you run that washing machine during the night or the tumble dryer during the night? This also includes things like the early afternoons or overnight, which are normally the two periods of time where it's cheaper. I say this because there is normally a spike between 6 and 9 a.m. So basic stuff really in terms of that. If you charge a car, then things like Agile, especially at night, Agile become really, really good. Alternatively, if you do use a lot of energy between the 4 to 7 p.m. peak, but you do want to save money when charging your car, there is another tariff from Octopus called Octopus Go. That one saves you, I think, during a 4-hour period during the night. I think it's midnight to 4:30 in the morning. It's 5p kilowatt hours as of November 2020. And effectively, it does save you quite a bit of money if you do charge a car. Another thing I will say is that Octopus's fixed rates are not the best on the market. The reason why I say this is because I wouldn't just go and switch to Octopus unless if you know that you're going to switch to Agile or Go. There are definitely cheaper alternatives on the market if that's the case. This is more applicable because, especially if you have to pay an exit fee to your previous supplier. So in my case with Simplicity Energy, I had to pay an exit fee for both my gas and electric when I swapped over to them. Although I will say there is a £100 credit bonus effectively when you sign using someone's referral link. In terms of referral links, I have left my one below, although I will say I have also left two other ones, the Yorkshire EV Clubs one and the MG Owners Club one. If you want to use the other two, that's absolutely fine by me. It doesn't really matter in my case. So if you do want to use mine, thank you very much. But if you want to use the other two, I think Yorkshire EV Club one is for charity, and I think the MG's one is to basically fund, for example, our group events, which is absolutely spot on. And finally, I will be watching the rates carefully to make sure that, for example, the amount of days. So at the moment, I think it was 16 days out of the 180 that were more expensive than my previous tariff. I am keeping an eye on that to make sure that it doesn't get too out of hand. So anyway, if you like the video and you found it informative, please like the video. If you dislike it, please dislike it. If you want to be sort of notified when I do produce a video, although I am trying to keep to a 2-week release schedule, please hit that notification bell icon. And apart from that, thank you for watching and talk to you later.